Dear ladies and gentlemen, all of the participants of the final conference by Build project in the May 10th, 2023 in the Grand Saya Hotel in Jakarta, Indonesia. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I am Sarwidi, is the national steering members of the National Disaster Management Authority, or NDMA, or BNPB in Indonesia, we call Badan Nasional Penanggulangan Bencana of the Republic of Indonesia. First of all, that I would like to briefly mention about the disaster management in Indonesia as well, and the progress in the development of the disaster management, and secondly, about the importance of the educational effort in the issues of disasters. As we know that we have in Indonesia, we have a disaster management law, the number of 2024 in the year of 2007, that it mentions about 3 types of disaster hazards. Call it natural, non-natural, and social. Because the people usually, if we tell about disaster connoted with the natural disaster, but after there is a global disaster, meaning the COVID-19 pandemic, that the people aware that many other, there are 2 other kind of disaster other than natural disaster. Because we have just having problem with the non-natural disaster called COVID-19 pandemic. Dear ladies and gentlemen, that in the natural disasters, we mentioned that we have 3 types of hazard, call it because of the geological dynamics, and maybe because of secondly the climatological process, and the third is the hybrid between geological and climatology process. In the geological dynamics, we have that is very almost in Indonesia, we have an earthquake hazard because of about 2 of the territory of Indonesia prone to earthquake effect in any time. And secondly, about the volcano eruption. And then also we have a tsunami threat also. In the climatological process, yearly we have problem with inundation of floods, and sometimes we have a flash floods, and sometimes also we have a typhoon. Then in the hybrid combination natural disaster, we have a lot also. Part of Indonesian territory have a soil movement threat or landslides, and we have also in the after having eruptions, usually we have a lahar or flash flood, lava flood threat. Dear ladies and gentlemen, that in the effort of handling disaster in Indonesia using disaster management system, we would like to have a disaster can be handled systematically. So in the law number 24, the year 2007, we have a component and content of the disaster management system. That first is about legislation, second about the institution, and third about budgeting, and third about fourth about planning, and sixth about science and technology, and sixth about the implementation. Therefore, we use the systematic way of in handling the disasters issues. In the area of the institution, we have the international level, we have BNPB or National Disaster Management uh, Authority. And in the local level, in the level of province, we have the local disaster management authority or BBBD. And in the level of cities or regency, we have also the local disaster management of the region of or the cities. And in the body of NDMB or BNPB, there is a head that responsible to the President of the Republic of Indonesia and have two components below him. There is a steering components and executive components. In the steering components, it is different from the other ministries and agencies, national agencies that in BNPB we have a steering component since the establishment in 2008. It consists of relevant government officials and then professional community members. So I am in the part of the professional community members in 2009. Dear ladies and gentlemen, in handling disaster management, NDNA has vision. That is the resiliency of the nation in facing disasters. And mission of the NDMA or BNPB is protecting the nation from the threat of disaster by building a culture of disaster risk reduction and disaster preparedness to become an integrated part of national development. Dear ladies and gentlemen, and we have also Indonesia in dealing the disasters management. We do with the measurable acts. What we can measurable because we use the disaster risk reduction approach or DRR approach. And then in using disaster concept or approach, we have three components of disasters. Component, that is hazard, and then secondly is the vulnerability, and then the third is about capacity. So the activities, our activities today in dealing with the education in the disaster issues. So mean then to effort in increasing the capacity. So directly can reduce the disaster risk by using the capacity. But also indirectly that the increasing capacity could also impact the indirectly using impact the hazard as well as vulnerability. Dear ladies and gentlemen, that we dealing with the conference today is about the disaster education. Education in the disaster issues. It means that the meaning of disaster education is as a conscious effort to create a community that cares, has knowledge and skills in overcoming disaster problems, as well as avoiding disaster problems that may arise in the future, so as to increase the capacity in disaster management. So education form could be in formal, by using the formal approach, like including the content of disaster issues in the curricula of universities and schools, as well as we form also the education by using the formal and informal form. For example, the people using edutourism of disaster issue. Dear ladies and gentlemen, challenge for having maximal result of our effort is how to increase the synergy between the 5 components of pentahelix. The 5 components of pentahelix. The 5 components are the government, business community, general society, university or academics, and mass media. So if we could make the synergy of this component, so we expect that the result of the effort in disaster management are maximum. Of course, this is effort in education in this disaster issues is very important, because our effort today could increase the capacities. If increasing the capacities means finally, it reduces the risk of disasters. Even if we have like to have a eradicate of the disaster, if possible, if not, at least to reduce as much as possible. Enjoying the conference, and hopefully our joint effort in reducing disaster risk can be successful. Thank you very much. Coming from Jakarta.